Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So it seems to have happened again. All of this feels very familiar. There have been thousands of meteorites that have been found on Earth, and only one has been 100% confirmed to have hit a person, which I think I covered last year on my channel. But it almost happened again. A meteorite went through the roof of a guy's house yet again and came very close to hitting the homeowner in the state of Georgia. Now they have studied that meteorite and it is something special. And though there's not footage of it hitting the home via a ring cam, there are a ton of dash cams of this meteor coming down to Earth. So let's take a look at this story and see why scientists are so excited about this particular meteorite and how it can help us understand potential future impacts. So on June 26th, 2025, residents across several states in the American South reported seeing a fireball in broad daylight, and this one is pretty hard to miss. Eventually, this fireball landed on the roof of a guy's house in McDonough, Georgia, a town just south of Atlanta. It turned into multiple fragments and punched through the roof of this guy's house and missed the homeowner by about 14 feet or 4 meters. And as you can see, the fragments made a nice little hole and definitely made a noticeable dent in this guy's laminate flooring. For scale, they say that this dent in the floor is about twice the size of an American quarter. Nearby residents not only reported seeing the fireball, but also hearing a large booming sound. Now, the rock quickly diminished in size and speed as it came down to Earth, but it's still thought to have traveled at about 1 kilometer per second when it went through this guy's roof. Now, as of this recording, the homeowner, this guy, didn't really want to be identified by media outlets, so I'll respect that here. But he did reach out to public officials after the impact and turned the fragments over to scientists who analyzed their origins, and they were quite surprised by what they found. These pieces are old, super old. In fact, they are thought to be older than Earth itself. Scott Harris, a planetary geologist from the University of Georgia, examined about 23 grams, or less than 1 ounce, of the meteorite fragments. According to Mr. Harris's findings, the meteorite formed 4.56 billion years ago, about 20 million years before the Earth did. Scott Harris said it belongs to a group of asteroids in the main asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter that we now think we can tie to a breakup of a much larger asteroid about 470 million years ago. Harris went on to say that this particular meteor that entered the atmosphere had a long history before it made it to the ground of McDonough. Using optical and electron microscopy, Harris and his team determined that the rock was a chondrite, the most abundant type of stony meteorite, according to NASA. Now, I think most of us know that space rocks break apart in Earth's atmosphere. They disintegrate while traveling at tens of thousands of miles per hour. And the bright flare that people saw on June 26th, and people usually see, is a result of the pressure on the meteorite exceeding its strength. And most of these meteorites are small because usually less than 5% of the object, somewhere between the size of a pebble and a fist, usually hits the ground, according to NASA. But Mr. Harris said the man whose house was hit said the sound the meteorite made created a sound and vibration equivalent to a close-range gunshot upon impact. Which I thought was interesting because I've covered a few of these impacts, including the one that was captured on that Ring doorbell, and to me, it didn't sound anything like that. But Scott Harris thinks he knows why. He said, I suspect he heard 3 simultaneous things. One was the collision with his roof, one was the tiny cone of a sonic boom, and the third was the collision with his floor, which kind of basically all happened at the same time. The resident told Scott Harris that he is still finding specks of tiny space dust all over his living room, which did not surprise Scott Harris. He said there was enough energy when it hit the floor that it pulverized parts of the material down to literal dust fragments. And that made a lot of sense to me, considering the pulverized dust extravaganza that we saw from that Ring doorbell footage. Scott Harris said that this meteorite is the 27th to be found in the state of Georgia. He added, "This is something that used to be expected once every few decades, not multiple times within 20 years. Modern technology, in addition to an attentive public, is going to help us recover more and more meteorites. And to scientists, especially ones like Dr. Harris, the real juicy part about collecting meteorites is that the ones that fall to Earth comprise some of the original materials that formed planets billions of years ago. So it's an incredibly unique opportunity to learn more about how Earth and other planets formed a very long time ago. Which for me is what is so sad when you think about the thousands of meteorites that are either intentionally or unintentionally discarded probably all the time. People just thinking, huh, that's weird. Anyway, on with my day. And as I've covered before, the Hodges meteorite is the most famous case of a meteorite coming through someone's roof, and is probably the only undisputed case of a collision between a meteorite and a human. But this is famously known as the Hodges meteorite because it hit Anne Hodges, who was trying to have a nap on her couch in 1954. So of course, this meteorite needs to have a name too, right? But given that the man doesn't necessarily want his name out there, Harris and his colleagues said that they proposed to name the space rock the McDonough meteorite for the small town where the meteorite plummeted to Earth. Harris is hoping to publish his findings on the composition and speed of the meteorite, which will help to understand the threat of further asteroids. He said, "One day there will be an opportunity, and we never know when it's going to be, for something large to hit and create a catastrophic situation. If we can guard against that, we want to." So I know it may look like I cover these incidents for the sort of YouTube shock and awe, but I think this last part that he mentioned is what I think is the most important thing about these incidents. So I get that it may just look like a bunch of rocky pebbles, but if you think something came out of the sky and hit your home or property, please let public officials know. Call your local university, because you never know where that meteor came from or how it may contribute to our broader understanding of meteorites. Because one day it may not be the size of a couple of American quarters, so let's try and get as much information while we can. Also, you might get a meteorite named after you, which would be amazing. Marion Meteorite. Oh wait, no, it's last names, huh? So Kerr Meteorite? For some reason, I like Marion better. The Marion meteorite, the Kerr meteorite. Okay, let me know what you think in the comments below. Maybe I'm wrong here. Okay, that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, I will see you in the next video.